Now, one way we can visualize this, and it may not be overly intuitive, but I thought this was a nice way to frame it up. So when we look at means and medians in the Bitcoin environment, because of its positive skewness, and what I mean by that, most of the transactions that we have in Bitcoin are small, right? They're large in count, but small, much like these text inscriptions. And most of the large, 100,000, million, multi-million dollar transfers, there's just not many of them, but they will represent the mean, right? Very large outliers on the upside will drag the average or the mean up, which is in the red, and lots and lots of like small, typically retail, all those kind of daily transactions, they're going to really be reflected in medians. So if we look here, this is the transfer volume, mean in red and median in blue. So the average transfer volume kind of follows Bitcoin's bull and bear market tendencies. And this is in log scale. So at the bull market peak, we were transferring over $1 million on average. Pretty wild stuff. We're currently transferring $36,000 on the average transaction. And you can see we essentially put in higher lows and higher highs cycle after cycle. In many ways, the mean transaction size is more or less, it's going to be a little bit affected, but not by a great deal by all of these inscriptions. Now, for our medians, it typically oscillates at bull market peaks. It can reach about $1,000, $2,000. In bears, we get down to 100, 200, things like that. We're at $7.50 right now. So what's going on here is that these inscriptions are basically carried on what we call postage. It's like 10,000 sats, sometimes it's a couple of hundred sats. We're moving around cents and dollars for these inscriptions because obviously people have a perceived value of the thing that the inscription is based on. There is a value that goes beyond the 500 sats or the 5,000 sats that it's actually being moved around on. People perceive the value of the NFT, for want of a better term, or the token, or whatever it is. So we can actually see this in the fee that's paid. Now, the way that I've calculated this, if you're transferring $100 and you pay a $1 fee, that's going to be a 1% fee. So I'm looking at it in terms of the amount that's sent and the percent fee of what is being sent. Now, the mean or the average typically oscillates between 0.01% and a tenth of a basis point. We're talking about, these are the kind of numbers you would actually expect, right? Between 1 basis point and a tenth of a basis point. And that has been constant for pretty much all of Bitcoin's history. So that's well within expected limits. In bull market peaks, we've seen that typically it's been capped out at about 1.2%, 1% in the median. So this is kind of the peak urgency. People aren't really thinking so much about transaction fees. They just want to get their coins onto an exchange. At times like that, we get to like 1%. Most of the time it's around 0.1%. That's kind of the typical level. Well, note that particularly on that fee spike in March, we got up over 50% and we're currently at 10%. So what we're seeing is that people are willing to pay extremely high fees because they're only moving around 500 sats, but they believe that the value of the inscription is more than the sats that it's attached to. It's this really interesting dynamic where we're seeing UTXOs have a value that's actually not really measurable because it's an NFT or it's a token or it's some more subjective component. So really what these charts are doing is just helping present this kind of case that there is a bit of a shift here. We can certainly use our means to really assess what's going on in kind of the Bitcoin economy, the monetary transfers. But when we're thinking about inscriptions, we probably have to look a little bit more at the median because it's going to be really small, but lots and lots of them.